What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you a really powerful trading strategy that you can use to enter really juicy trades. But before we get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash that like, and click the notification bell so you don't miss any of these awesome tutorials or urgent market updates that we will be uploading to the channel. Now, for this strategy, we are going to be using Market Cipher B, and we're going to be focusing on two specific things: money flow and VWAP. We're also going to be looking at two different time frames, and that's going to be the 4-hour and the 15-minute. Now, you can use this strategy to find good long positions and good short positions, and it also works on any coin, right? You can use this on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, whatever asset you like to trade, you can use this strategy. You can also utilize other time frames, but for today, we're just gonna stick to the 4-hour and the 15-minute. And then if you guys stick around till the end of the video, I'm gonna show you a tip on how you can find these setups without having to continuously stare at the chart all day, waiting for these signals to pop up. So without further ado, let's jump into the charts. I'm gonna show you long examples. I'm gonna show you short examples. I'm also gonna be showing you a few different ways you can add some confidence to these trades by finding confluence, whether it be on different time frames or looking at divergences or what have you. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so here we are on the Bitcoin 4-hour chart, and what we're gonna be looking for, as I said, was the 4-hour VWAP and the 15-minute money flow. So when you're looking for long opportunities, you're looking for that 4-hour VWAP to be crossing up over the zero line. And if you're looking for a shorting opportunity, you're gonna be looking for that 4-hour VWAP crossing down over the zero line. So for example, you see right here that we do have a 4-hour VWAP crossing up over the zero line, right? So this would be an example of a long opportunity. So once you see this 4-hour VWAP crossing up over the zero line, you're gonna wanna go down to your 15-minute and look for that money flow going from the red, crossing up over the zero line as well, into the green, right? So let's just mark this example right here with a vertical line, and let's go down to the 15-minute. So as you can see here, that 4-hour VWAP crossover is landing right on a money flow crossover. Guys, this is very powerful. As you can see, we came up quite a bit, right? If you measure this out, if you were to take this trade somewhere around here, and let's say you rode it up, all the way to the top, let's say by some miracle you caught the exact top, that would have been 9.6% profit. You could have gotten 96% profit with 10x leverage on this move. Speaking of leverage, if you guys do want to sign up for Femex and trade with leverage to increase your gains, my link is in the description. You can click that. You do get a signing bonus, and it helps out the channel just a little bit, so it's a win-win situation. Now, you can use this strategy for long trades and short trades, so let's go ahead and see if we can find an example of a good short trade. So we're back on our 4-hour chart, and we are looking for VWAP to be crossing down over the zero line. So as you can see right here, we have another VWAP crossover to the downside, right? So let's go ahead and mark it with our vertical line. So here's your 4-hour VWAP crossover. Now let's head down to the 15-minute and see if it played out. So if you look here, you'll see that we did come down into the red, but we did come up and pop over again back into the green with the money flow before finally crossing down for a bigger move. Now, be careful with this, because this does happen often where money flow will come down or up over the zero line and then reverse back to where it was for just a minute before finally crossing over. This can happen with money flow often, so you want to make sure you don't get scared out of the trade. Now, if you do have a wishy-washy money flow playing out on the 15-minute, something you can do is check the time frames close to the 15-minute. Maybe it's the 20-minute, maybe it's the 12-minute, the 10-minute, whatever time frame that's close to that, and see if you can find any confirmations on those time frames. For example, coming down to our 20-minute here, you can clearly see that money flow is definitely coming to the downside, right? So you could take a look at these other time frames. You could also look for trigger waves, right? So if you had a little trigger wave coming up not far above the zero line, if you had something like this popping up with a red dot, that could be an extra confirmation. But there's something big here that is screaming out to me that adds a lot of confidence to this trade, and that is a divergence. Now, if you come back to your 4-hour, we are printing from this red dot to this red dot. You have a high on your momentum wave and a lower high. And if you come up to your price action, you actually have a high and then a higher high, right? So this is a bearish divergence, making that alligator mouth that we talk about so often on the channel. And this could be another good indicator that this price is going to go down, right? So you have the VWAP crossing down to below the zero line. You have a bearish divergence. There's a confirmation. You are coming up to a level of resistance that we have rejected in the past. That's a little extra confirmation. So these are some things that can really make you feel a little more confident in the trade. And if we come back down to our 15-minute, you can see that although we did get faked out with the money flow a tiny bit right there, this would have been an amazing trade. So if you entered right here, you could have rode this down to this area of support that we have respected in the past. You would have walked away with about 3% profit. That's 30% profit with 10x leverage. Super, super powerful. You could have taken part of your trade out there and let the rest ride for an eventual much bigger move down, from here, from your first take profit all the way down to here is another 6%. So very, very powerful and reliable trading strategy, especially when combined with divergences and lines of key support and resistance. Now, again, like I said, if you're having wishy-washy money flow on the 15-minute, you can check those closer time frames to the 15-minute to see if you can get a money flow crossover on one of those time frames. So basically what you're doing is you're using the 4-hour chart as a signal, right? And then you're coming down to your 15-minute to get a good entry. So you're using the higher time frame to find the signal and coming down to your lower time frames to get the entry. Now let's find another example of a long opportunity. So as you can see here, we actually had a VWAP crossover to the upside about 4 hours ago. So if we mark that with our line, we'll change the color again so we don't get confused. And then you come down to the 15-minute, right? There's your line. And you can see that we didn't quite get the money flow crossover yet, right? Typically, you want to see these happening very close to each other, right? You want your VWAP crossover to be very close to your money flow crossover on the 15-minute. But what you could do is you could enter here and possibly get a better entry than waiting for the money flow crossover. But if you did wait for the money flow crossover, you'll see we did print a trigger wave and we did come up a little bit. Now, a little confirmation if you come back to the 4-hour is you are actually coming down to this spider line. So you could expect somewhat of a bounce off of here. However, price action is in a downtrend right now. We are dumping a little bit with Bitcoin currently. So another key thing to remember with this strategy is the trend is your friend, right? So if you're in a long-term downtrend on the higher time frames, you're not really going to want to be looking for too many longs, right? You might want to sit out on the longs and wait for the short signals because you'll be trading with the current, right? You don't want to go against the trend. The trend is your friend. Always remember that. So we are going down, but we are also coming to a spider line. So you could expect some sort of a bounce, but I would be careful in the current market environment because we are currently coming down a bit. But coming back to our 15-minute, let's measure this out and say you waited for the actual money flow crossover for a entry. You would have entered here and you would have come up to here for about 1.2% profit if you caught the top. So, about 10% profit with 10x leverage. So not the biggest move. Also may not have played out all the way yet. So you could have more gains on the way, but you can see how this works, right? Another thing you can look for is if you have VWAP and money flow coming up at the exact same time, on the 4-hour or on the 15-minute, these are things that sometimes add a little bit of extra gusto to these moves and can add just a little bit more confirmation. But typically you do want to confirm this with something like a divergence or a key level of support and resistance. But let's find another long example that happened in the past. So as you can see here, we do have a VWAP crossover, right? You are also having your momentum waves if you connect the tops of the waves generally flowing this way. These are just general market cipher rules, right? When you have momentum coming up and going in a certain direction, you can expect price to go the same way. So you can see we have nice curvature here. You do see, when we get the money flow crossover, money flow also did start to curve up on the 4-hour, right? So we marked it here with our white line. Now let's go check out the 15-minute and see where it falls. And as you can see here, it is right on the money flow crossover on the 15-minute. So this would have been a really, really, really good opportunity to get into this trade. However, you do have this spider line here. So if you did enter on this money flow crossover and got in on one of these candles, you may want to take a little profit coming up to this spider line in case you, get rejected and come back down. You could have got a little 17% profit with 10x leverage. And then you could take out part of your trade here just to protect yourself a little bit and then see if you could ride up. Totally totally up to you and your risk tolerance. But as you can see, this brought us up quite a bit. If you did hold the trade, you could have come up here for about 8.2% profit, much more with leverage. And then you also could have rode it up to here for about 15% at the top of this wick. Now, guys, this is a great example of how powerful this can be, guys. When combined with leverage and confirmation with divergences and key levels, this can be super, super, super powerful, right? With 10x leverage, that's 150% profit. That is some juicy, juicy gains. Now, you wanna make sure that money flow is going in the right direction. Just for example, let's say that you had a 4-hour VWAP crossover going from the bottom to up over the zero line, going to the upside, so it would have been a long opportunity. And let's just say when you came to the 15-minute, this is what you see, right? When you come to the 15-minute, you have money flow coming down. This is not the trade you wanna take. You wanna have confluence between the 4-hour and the 15-minute, having the VWAP coming up as well as the money flow coming up. But if you have VWAP coming up and money flow coming down on the 15-minute, you do not want to enter that trade. You're going to want to sit that one out. Now, if you guys have made it this far in the video, I said I would give you a little tip so you don't have to keep staring at the charts, waiting for these 4-hour VWAP crossovers, and we're going to get into that right now. The way you're going to do this is with alerts, right? If you guys have seen my TradingView tutorial, I do show you how to set alerts and how they work. However, I will go over it briefly right here, but definitely go check out that TradingView tutorial because I show a lot of good quick tips and tricks that help you save time and make your life a lot easier when doing your analysis. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna set an alert for the VWAP crossover, right? So what you can do is you come down to your market cipher B, find this black box right here, click the 3 dots and hit add alert. You wanna make sure you have market cipher B selected here, and then you're gonna wanna come down to this next drop-down menu and you're gonna wanna click crossing, right? And then you can put the value and you can set the value here. So typically with this strategy, I like to personally wait for the VWAP to confirm its crossover on the zero line. Now, I will say, sometimes if you enter before the VWAP actually crosses over, you can get a much better entry point, but please understand this comes with risk, right? I always preach you don't want to front run VWAP because it could come down to the zero line and get rejected and go in the opposite direction, right? So you want to be very careful doing this. Understand it comes with more risk, but you could get a better entry point. So I just wanted to point that out. And I'll show you guys an example of that in just a second. But you want to come here, market cipher B, crossing, and then I personally like to do it at the zero line, right? Because I don't usually enter until after it crosses over the zero line. But you could even set this at, 1 or 2 or 3, 5, whatever it is. You can, if you look down here at market cipher B, right, and zoom in a little bit, this is usually where I have my alerts set, but you could also set another one at 3 so you can get alerted before if you want to get a little bit of a better entry, understanding that there's extra risk with that. You could set them, at however far you want, right? So I'm just gonna set one here at the zero line, and then I usually do once per bar, and if you hit more actions, you can change the sound and change the time, and then you could name it like possible trade opportunity, right? So you can put whatever you want here, obviously, but then you would hit create and it will add it there. So next time VWAP crosses over that line, that zero line, you will get notified, and then you can go check the 15-minute, check the money flow, and see if this strategy is going to play out, right? Again, if you have wishy-washy money flow, check those other time frames close to the 15-minute and see if you can find an entry on those time frames. If you can't, maybe you want to sit that one out. Now, before we finish up here, I do want to show you an example of how you can get a better entry point by front running the VWAP, right? Again, I want to reiterate, I do not recommend this unless you're a riskier trader and you know what you're doing. Now, for this example right here, where we had the bearish divergence, I would personally wait until you have the actual crossover confirmed. So let's go down to the 15-minute and see what that looks like. And as you can see here, we would have gotten in somewhere around here. Now, this is a fine trade, right? You're still coming from here down to this first support for 2% profit, right? For me, trading with 10x leverage, that would be 20% profit for me. I would take part of my position out there and see if we could crack the support level for extra gains. But now let's see, if you did wind up front running VWAP a little bit on there, you might have gotten an entry here, or maybe even catch the exact top, right? But in case you did come up and test this level as support and then come higher, you can get wrecked that way. So I like to wait for the confirmation. So if you did front run the VWAP, you would have gotten, an extra you know, almost 2% profit out of it. But I'm a little more risk averse, so I wait for the confirmation. But I did just want to point that out. If you do front run the VWAP, you could get a better entry, but definitely extra risk is involved. All right, guys, I think that's all I got for this one. Just to recap, you're looking for the 4-hour VWAP crossing up or down over the 0 line, depending on if you're shorting or longing. If it's going up over the 0 line, you're looking for longs. If it's going below the 0 line, you're looking for shorts. Once you get those VWAP crossovers, you wanna go to the 15-minute and see if money flow is showing any confluence, right? So if VWAP's coming up on the 4-hour, you're looking for money flow to be coming up into the green on the 15-minute and vice versa, right? To get better entry points, you can front run VWAP, but it comes with a lot more risk. And you can use things like divergences and key support levels or spider lines to add confirmation to your trades, or you can use these to know when not to enter a trade, right? If you get a short signal, but you're coming down to a really strong support level, you might not want to take that trade because you want price to go down, but you might bounce off that support level. So just some things to keep in mind. I hope this helped you guys. So get on TradingView, back test this strategy, get your feet wet and hop on Femex and get into some trades and make those sweet, sweet gains. With all that being said, guys, I think that's all I got. I'll see you in the next one. Candles out.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor.